Yo folks, it's Taras, and in today's video I want to talk about Selenium, which is a framework for doing automation in a web browser. And I followed along with a tutorial on how to use Selenium with Python by Tech with Tim. And I thought it was a really great tutorial and I learned a lot. Now, Selenium is one of three big browser automation frameworks that I'm aware of. The other two are Playwright, which I think is by Microsoft, and then Puppet by Google. All three of these are open source. And then there's also this new field of robotic process automation, RPA, including Microsoft's Power Automate, and then UiPath is the other big name that I'm aware of in the industry. So Selenium is really just dipping your toes in the water, and Selenium itself, I've seen it implemented both with Ruby and with Python, and I'm more familiar with Python, so I figured I would start there and found Tim's tutorial to be a great learning resource. So in the tutorial, he covers three basic ideas. The first is web scraping, and so in that part of the tutorial, you try to web scrape Tim's website. The problem there was that Tim's website has changed since writing the tutorial, and the code didn't work as advertised, as written and as published to scrape the website. But that was fine. It was a good little learning experience. Then the second task was to automate the cookie clicker. And this is a whole interesting thing in itself. So cookie clicker is an idle game, meaning you just play it by clicking on this cookie. And that's an interesting concept in and of itself of how do you create a website and, publicize it to run a goofy little game and make some money off advertising. And then how can you, in a sense, attack the website? It's not really an attack like a hack, but you are doing something that's a little bit unintended, or maybe it is intended, is using an automation to play the game automated for you. So that's another cool little use case, is just doing any sort of automated task in your browser. And the third one was creating an end-to-end test of a website. And so if you have a serious website that you're doing a lot of business on, you want to have automated tests of that website. So as changes occur, you can check that the main important functionality is still there, that it's working correctly, and that things don't break, that errors are handled as expected. And that's really the use case of having an end-to-end test of your website. And in this case, we use just python.org and just created a couple really simple test cases for that using the unit test framework. So I thought it was really cool. Let me give you a demo of the code. I will link the tutorial itself as well as my Git repo in the comments below, so check those out. So let's start with scraping Tech with Tim. Just do a quick walkthrough. Like I said, it didn't work as advertised, but there's still some cool things that I want to talk about that you can learn. So one thing that I ran into is the Selenium framework, right? And do you really want to download the WebDriver every time from Google onto your computer? And for me, the answer was no. So I went with this WebDriver plugin. And that's a little bit complicated, but it works really nicely. And so you can pick which browser you're working with. And I think Selenium supports all these major browsers. In this case, I was working with Chrome, but I'm also a big fan of the Brave browser down here. So that's really cool, and I use Brave a lot, so I just had this commented out of how I would use it with a Brave browser. And the idea is to use the driver to find the element for the Python tutorials and click through to web scrape the data about what Python tutorials are there. But you can think about how this is useful. What kind of data do you need to get from websites? And if you're running maybe like a drop shipper or an e-commerce business, you might be looking for information about your competitors' prices or what's going on Amazon or Target.com, trying to figure out where the best deals are on. So that's something interesting to think about. And I think the web scraping is a potentially really lucrative application. Kind of the question is, would you really use Selenium for that, or would you want to use something like ScrapeHigh or a service that's managed for you? I think Phantom Buster is the one that I'm aware of. So that's an interesting topic in itself. Then we've got the cookie clicker, which I can demo. And here again, we're using the WebDriver. And then I created a couple of helper methods to find the elements that we're interested in. So if we hop back to Chrome, we've got this big cookie that we click on so we can inspect that. So that's the ID, is the big cookie. And then we've also got this div, the cookie numbers, which really relates to our number of points that we have right here. And you can cache in your points to get a cursor, meaning an automated clicker for you that will click for you every 15 seconds. And then there's higher level power-ups that you'll want to buy as you level up your cookie game here. So that's really the purpose of our bot. If we hop on down here, it will get the test URL, wait for it to load. In this case, it'll pop up asking you for which language you want to use. So you want to click the English button in our case. And then it will find the cookie. And in this case, we do it inside of our loop going to over 9,000. We'll find the cookie, we'll click on it, and we'll check our current score, our level of cookies. And if it's over a certain threshold, it will go ahead and try to purchase a power-up. So let's just run it real quick and see what it does. So I'm hitting F5 in Visual Studio Code to boot this as a Python program. And you can tell it takes a little while for it to load. Clicks on the English button. Okay, dang, looks like we're running into that stale element not found exception again. So I thought I had fixed it, but maybe not quite. Let's give it another shot just to see if we can get around that. Maybe that was just an odd run. But yeah, that's been a little bit of a pain for me, is this stale element reference exception. I thought I had fixed it. My guess is that we would need to hit the cookie count. Oh, there it goes. It's working right now. And it's upgrading the cursor. But there must be something more consistent that we can do to improve it. My guess is moving the cookie count find into this inner loop. That'd be something to experiment with. But yeah, you can see it's just hanging out and playing the game here in the background. All right, and finally, let's go to our end-to-end test of python.org. So in this case, we're integrating Selenium with the unit test framework. And so this is going to run any method that is prefixed by test underscore. And that lets it know that we have a test here. So we have one that just goes in and checks that our title matches Python, and then another that goes into the search box and searches for PyCon and asserts that we find some results from that. So just a couple simple little end-to-end tests. And I think that there was some interesting structure and syntax here of, we've got the main.py, the page.py. So the page just defines some inheritance and helps us click through to where we need to go. Let's execute the search. Let's see. So here in the element.py, there's some interesting structure of using this lambda function. So I liked that. That's the first time I had used lambda in Python. So I'm looking forward to learning more about how that works. And then locator just defines some constants of how we're trying to search for the go button. So let's give this a try with our main method and see what that looks like. So I'm hitting F5 to start my program. Pops open python.org, runs a test. Okay, ran 2 tests in 14 seconds and reports okay. So that's pretty much it. Just goes through a couple basic tests, but it's really cool to learn to do that, right? And you can think of, hey, if you have an important website that you're doing a lot of business on, why it would be valuable to have an end-to-end test for it. So let me know what you think of Selenium, of this tutorial. What kind of automation are you interested in? Whether it's bots, web scraping, or end-to-end testing. And what do you think of other test frameworks? What do you think of robotic process automation, RPA? What's on your mind as far as the automation field? Well, thanks everyone for watching. Again, this is Tross, and peace out.